Oh, hatch! No way.
Yo, welcome to the video, man. Alright, today it's time, guys. It's the Billy tutorial. I feel like a lot of people were waiting for this one because Billy is so unique and you don't see Billys that often. So I'll do a quick introduction, character information, strength, weaknesses of the killer, as well as his power, and curving, his most known technique and mechanic, as well as tips to improve. So let's get right into it. Alright, so now I'm just gonna introduce Billy as a killer. Billy was classified as an easy killer to learn. Now he is one of the hardest actually to learn and to master. So I'm gonna go over his strength and weaknesses. Now this is my opinion. This is what I observed by only playing Billy as a killer. So his strengths are the following. Mobility is on top. Billy is known for his mobility. He can traverse the map in seconds. He can, down people really quickly and apply pressure on the map because he has so much map control. Now, mobility, and after that you have insta-downing, which, his chainsaw insta-downs. His power is really strong because he can traverse the map really quickly and down on the head of the chainsaw. So for example, if you spawn and you use a lethal pursuer, this is why we use a lethal pursuer on Billy. You spawn, you see the guy across the map, you charge the chainsaw sprint, and you have a chance to down a survivor in like 10 seconds. And right there you have a hook. So this is a really, really good point on Billy's strength. You have a mobility, insta-downing, as well as, the chainsaw can break pallets really quickly. So he can get rid of pallets really quickly on the map, especially if you have Enduring on top of that. You can play Spirit Fury on top of that. So he's very strong at, shutting down loops because the chainsaw is scary and it makes people drop pallets more often than against a regular M1 killer. And after that, we have the weaknesses. So his weaknesses are, vaults. So like, let's say a TNL, you cannot use your chainsaw there because it's so hard to hit. So a TNL is very weak on Billy. You can't do much there. And vaults against Billy are very strong. He's very loopable as a killer. He's very loopable because when he can't use the chainsaw, he's just an M1 killer. Like he can't do much. And as well as indoor maps as well. That's his big weaknesses because he depends on outdoor maps. Indoor maps as a Billy, you can't do much. So that is his weaknesses and his strength. Now, of course, we need to go over his power. So his power is really straightforward. It's a chainsaw. So you have to know what the movement speed is about. I'm gonna give you statistics that show how much the chainsaw affects Billy's movement speed. So at base kit, no chainsaw, he's walking at 4.6 meters per second. So he's like Trapper, like Wraith, basic killers, basic speed. But then when he's charging the chainsaw, he goes down. So the chainsaw slows him down when he's charging to 3.68 meters per second. However, when he starts the sprint, when he's sprinting with the chainsaw, he goes up to 9.2 meters per second. So you can see that the sprint, enhances the speed of Billy. It's what his power is all about. Now, to charge the chainsaw at 100% and actually get to eventually sprint, it takes 2.5 seconds to charge the whole bar and actually get the sprint after that. Now, you have to know that, you know, his power sounds really cool, but for those who don't know, the overheat mechanic is really destroying Billy players. You know, the Billy players who want to learn the killer realize that the overheat mechanic is so overwhelming, because as a Billy player, when you start playing Billy, you're gonna miss a lot of chainsaw. You know, you're gonna hit objects a lot because you don't know the hitboxes and you're not familiar with the power. So the overheat mechanic is there to prevent you from using the chainsaw too much. Now, the overheat mechanic is eventually there. So it's a bar on the power that goes up, and when you're at 100% of the bar, the chainsaw is not usable at all. It shuts down your chainsaw for a couple of seconds and then you can use it again. As well, when you miss a chainsaw, when you hit a chainsaw, and when you hit an object, so these three actions of you know, chainsaw interaction have a cooldown of 3 seconds. So let's say when you hit someone, when you miss it, or when you hit an object, you have 3 seconds of cooldown to, you know, get back up, you know, when you hit the chainsaw. Now that you know a lot about the killer, his character info, strength, weaknesses, as well as his power, now you have to know his most known and yet most impressive mechanic in the whole game, which is curving.
Billy, I love you. Like, honestly, I love playing against Billies. They're hilarious, but like this shit. Billy, no.
Can you? Oh wow. She got lucky. She didn't get. No. Wait, stay. Faith. Nap.
So curving, as you can see in the first seconds of the video, I put a clip where I curve around the car to catch the survivor. So this is called curving. So for those who don't know what curving is curving is about using the 0.75 second window of the chainsaw sprint. So right at the start of the chainsaw sprint, you have less than a second to turn your it with the mouse really hard. So flick for like less than a second, but it lets you turn a lot. But after that 1 second window, you cannot turn that much anymore. So that little window lets you actually turn a lot and allows you to turn like most likely 90 degrees with the chainsaw. So this is how you curve. Even it's really hard for me to curve. Like I'm not that good at Billy, but you have to put so much effort in it. You have to know the hitbox of each you know, object. You know, curving is all about knowing you know, the hitbox of the objects, knowing how to mind game, you know, the survivor to be in a certain position. So as you can see on the first clip with, you know, with the car, I force the survivor to be on one side. So I go one way, I go the other, I go one way, I go the other, and I force him to be on one side, on one specific side, and then I can go back and then catch him on the other side because he doesn't have time to hide from the chainsaw. This is what curving is all about. Now, we really want to know what his add-ons do. Now, I'm not going to go over every single add-on. I'm just going to show you in different categories what are the useful add-ons on Billy and what are the most used add-ons and the most efficient add-ons that you can use. So there's different categories, as you can see on the screen. You have the category of the overheat mechanic. You have add-ons that reduce that downside of the chainsaw, which is the overheat mechanic, which is really annoying when you're starting to play Billy. You miss a lot of chainsaws and, you know, you use the chainsaw too much and then you overheat and you're denied of your power for like a couple of seconds, which is really annoying. So you have a lot of add-ons that reduce this this chainsaw mechanic, which is the overheat You have another category which is about turning rate, which is really good when you're starting Billy. You know, as a beginner, you can turn a lot with these add-ons. You can also, obviously, the most used add-ons are going to be the speed add-ons, which is the engravings. The chainsaw sprint is enhanced and speed, so it's easy to, you know, snipe from a long distance and people don't see you coming. So really good add-ons. And then obviously you have a unique add-on, which is the low pro chains, which is a category on its own, which is about breaking the pallet and still going on the chainsaw sprint. The chainsaw sprint doesn't stop. And I guess the last add-on category has to be about reducing the stun time when you miss a chainsaw, when you get stunned by an object. These add-ons are really good for beginners, but when you start to get better at Billy, you don't want to use them. So I guess these categories are the main categories, from beginner to good player. You know, the other add-ons on Billy are interesting to use, but they're not that useful. So keep that in mind. These add-ons are the most useful, and this is what I think are the good add-ons on Billy. After hundreds of hours of playing Billy and, you know, gathering information about the killer, about his mechanics, I gathered also a lot of tips that are gonna make you a really good Billy player. The first tip is the most important, and a lot of players that play Billy don't have this tip yet, and they commit to chainsaws, and that's why they miss a lot of these chainsaws. So the first tip is to be patient. This is the most important tip when you play Billy. You need to be patient and you know, prevent the survivors from juking you. So let's say you have a survivor in front of you, you rev the chainsaw. What's the survivor gonna do? He's most likely gonna juke you 360, 180, you know, try to make you miss. And most of Billy players, when they learn Billy, they commit to the chainsaw and they commit to being juked, and they're not patient, so that's why they miss. And when you're patient, you 99 the chainsaw, you keep revving the chainsaw for a couple of seconds, and then when the survivor is in front of you, you have good sight on them, you can down them, and that's a really good tip right there. Second tip I can give you is to, obviously I talked about it in the overheat mechanic, is to not use the chainsaw too much. Just to get to a pallet, don't use the chainsaw just to do 5 meters, you know. It's use the chainsaw when you really have to, because the overheat mechanic is there to prevent you from using the chainsaw at all times. So as well, be patient on the chainsaw and know where to use it and when to use it. The third tip I can give you is to fake revving a chainsaw just before a pallet. And by doing this, the survivor is most likely going to greet the pallet. Now, why? Because by doing this, the survivor knows that the chainsaw takes a lot of time to charge, so they're most likely going to keep running and, you know, keep looping the same loop. So you fake revving the chainsaw, then you stop, and then you follow them, and you should catch them with the chainsaw. You rev it again, and if you don't catch them, you break the pallet with the chainsaw. So this tip is really good because most of Billy players, when they learn them, they rev the chainsaw just before the pallet and they commit to the chainsaw and they miss, obviously. So faking revving a chainsaw is really good. It's a really good mind game that can work a lot of times. And the last tip that I can give you is, you know, it's gonna help you improve at your chainsaw game. So it's, you know, you have to practice how to control and really understand how the bar of the chainsaw works, and to 99 it perfectly and then use it whenever you want to. And this is really important on most loops. When you hold the chainsaw for a long time, 99 it, and then it catches them off guard when you use it after like a couple of seconds, and use it when you have to. And there you have it. That's the end of the video. The video was quite short comparing to the looping tutorials where it's 20 minutes, but you know, I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments if you like those type of videos where I explain a killer in depth, and I give my opinion. I suggest, you know, techniques, mechanics, and overall, I hope you liked the video. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.